Greetings and salutations, Focus Up family. Welcome to the November 8th, 2025 installment of the Focus Up Show. We thank you for tuning in with us live early Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on YouTube and various other platforms, or catching up with us on replay. And we ask that you click that like, that subscribe, that bell, and share to support and maintain your weekly Focus Up fix. I am Mr. Nice Guy, nice as in the word saint spelled backwards. And today, my co-hosts are Brother Afro Agnostics, star of those Afro Agnostics videos, co-star of Objective Deconstruction and Mutant Politics. We got a Student X, the star of Mutant Politics, and a guest contributor to Objective Deconstruction and a pillar of the Focus Up Show. We got Mr. Floyd X, the boss.
I'm a boss. I'm not with that. It's never enough.
All right, that's enough.
What's up? And Max B, scheduled to be coming home. He's already talking about touring and stuff like that. So, that's what's up.
In November this month, Max B be home. Hopefully come with some good ass music.
He's talking about performing, going touring tomorrow, November 9.
November 9, yep.
So, yeah.
Keep it wavy, baby. Keep it wavy.
Max Bigavell, but still, anyway. So that having been said, shout out to Brother Walk. He's trying to get in, so he'll probably get back in. And I see Brother JC, the original Focus Up, foundational brother. What's up? Salute to you, brother. And he did break that story last week, so you got to give you your props and dues, you know what I'm saying? But, shout out to Infamous El Poo. He's down. He's a little sick. So, shout out to that brother. Get well, brother. And First Lady J, you know what I'm saying? She's still taking care of her business. Shout out to that sister, you know what I'm saying? So that having been said, Mr. Afro Agnostic, what's going on with you, brother?
Same old two-step, my brother. I want to pass it to you, man. We never had a chance to check in. You're doing all the great facilitation. What's up with you?
Well, I thank you very much. I don't know what to say. I guess I'm doing okay. I appreciate that. What's going on with you, Student X, my brother?
Well, you gotta be doing as good as me with that Tennessee Titans in the background, you know what I mean? Because the Raiders is the only one I could think that's even in the same category, So, but no, man, I just want to take this time real quick to say that, man. Look, man, Israel is such a stain to the world, man.
Word,
stain.
Ouch.
I agree.
The shots fired.
Man.
Mr. Floyd X, so what are you doing? How you doing, sir?
I'm chilling, man. I'm finally get to relax this weekend. I ain't got nothing scheduled on the schedule, so I get to relax and do what I need to do around this house this weekend.
What's
up, Walk?
Walk trying to put us in the second place. What's going on with you, brother?
I'm back. Yes, sir. What's up, fellas? Just getting a few things going. I'm good. Ready to rock and roll. I'm going to be leaving a little early. My son got his last soccer game. So, yeah. So, I'm here with my daughter. We're about to head out.
Cool.
What's up? So, that having been said. And then when you said, and for some clarity, Mr. Student X, when you said Israel, you're just talking about that state of Israel over there, right?
Well, yes, sir. The state of Israel ran by Netanyahu and others. We're talking about the same one that just embraces like a rape culture. I don't know if you've been following that situation.
Yeah, that jail shit.
It's great. I'm sorry, you great. You know what I mean? But y'all know what I'm talking about, man. It's ridiculous. And we'll see what happens.
Hey, just you mention it. It sounds a little anti to me, Student X. Just mentioning your name.
That's why we clarified the Israel versus the Jews. So yes, exactly.
Yeah, no. I mean, everyone. Look, my position is, I believe what King said, judging people by the content of their character and their actions. That's what I'm on. But I will call out, a group. Situations as well. And when we're talking about Israelis, when you can just look at the conglomerate of that population, you're talking about 80% of the people believe that genocide is okay for them to rid themselves of the Palestinian population. You know what I mean? So, I don't think there's too much redemption. And to those 20% that's there, biblically, there was a time when they were given a sign to leave because it was going to get wiped out. You know what I'm saying? You know, so look
That's
to
where
the
we
sky.
going.
Look
That's
to
where
the
we
sky.
going. That's where we going. Talking about this Nick Fuentes on the future comments about the shift of that everybody just believing what they hear and who's the good guys and bad guys. We're gonna get to that.
All right, so first thing up, let's get to the get. Rest in peace, Dick Cheney, a hard-changing conservative who became one of the most powerful and polarizing vice presidents in U.S. history and a leading advocate for the invasion of Iraq, has died at the age of 84. And in Cheney's hands, the vice presidency became a nexus of influence and manipulation, no longer the timid office whose occupants had tended their boss's ambitions, gone to endless banquets and often waited in the wings for their own shot at the prize. When he bunkered in secure, undisclosed locations under the September 11, 2001 attacks, he was doing his thing. So that's why they refer to him the Darth Vader of the administration. I know that the Walk, you brought that up. What you got to say? Oh, Brother Walk, he moved away, but go ahead. What you got to say about Darth Vader, Brother Walk, if anything? Nothing? That's cool. You got something to say about
nigga. Yo, relax.
You said, I saw your head.
I muted you, Walk. He couldn't hear you.
Yeah, and I saw his head shake. No.
I didn't come with a mask for nothing. Relax.
Go ahead, Walk.
Be a professional and just go forward.
Relax, bro. Listen, I didn't have a Darth Vader mask, so next thing best I could see the murderous, treacherous Jason the Killer, Jason Voorhees. That's similar to Dick Cheney, but he has killed thousands, millions more than Jason the Killer. So yeah. So I don't like to disrespect the dead or nothing like that, but I will say this about Mr. Cheney.
You got something to say about that, Afro-agnostic?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Things that come to my mind are like Halliburton. We got that mercenary group in there. Abu Ghraib, waterboarding. The whole invasion. So that's when you think about it, he is considered he's to the left MAGA, and it shows you how far off the right that Fuentes, that section of MAGA represents, far right, which is in alignment with auto fascism and what we see in front of us. But fuck Dick Cheney.
Yeah,
Student next, you got something to say about this?
Yeah, it'll be basically echoing the sentiment of everyone else. Is that I'm absolutely not a fan. He was the who, when we started getting a face of who neocons were and the birth of American century. He was that. Those leaving corporate America, and then now be inside the White House, and then make moves that benefited their companies that they came from. It was a dark era, September 11th. We're still in the shadow of that, and with a lot of lies and deceit that still surround that as well. So I'm not going to just, rail on him, although it has been taking place on social media. I try not to do that. I've only done that one time, and that was for one of his people, Madeleine Albright, and people remember her from her statements on 60 Minutes in regards to, is it worth it, for these 500,000 plus Iraqi child deaths due to sanctions, that were, doled out by America, at that time underneath her leadership. So that's it.
You got something to say to close it up, boss?
Dick Cheney, trash. Stay down there. Rest in peace, Dick Cheney. It shames me. It just irks me how these people, they cause all this destruction across the world, then they die at the rightful age of 84, peacefully in their mansions. It's disgusting. Rest in piss, Dick Cheney. Rest in piss.
Ouch. Okay.
But the
sorry.
poor don't get rewarded in the afterlife, though. Get our just reward.
Hey, it's sort of like how Chris Rock said before. He said, how some people say, he gonna get his. Sometimes people don't.
Nope.
All right. Rest in peace to Baby Uiie. Jabari Henley, 34 years old, the son of Eugene Henley, commonly known as Big U. He was shot and Baby Uiie was shot and killed Saturday night near Figueroa and 69th Street after he walked up to a vehicle outside of a smoke shop. Investigators say someone inside a car opened fire before driving off. He was found on the sidewalk suffering from multiple gunshot wounds before he was pronounced dead. The suspects fled and no arrests have been made. So, rest in peace to that brother. And, my condolences to the family, especially to Big U. The concept of a father losing a son, that's just a horrible thing. And even though his other son destroyed my football team on Sunday as a reaction to that, I'm a root for Black people to win. So, my condolences to their entire family and salute to that young man for having a great game against my Titans. You got something to say about this, Brother Walk?
This is like, and I feel it's like what they say, the sins of the father. It has to be. Come on now. We know what's going on right now with his dad. So, and this is a situation too, as well, where he was actually, from what I'm hearing, word on the street, he was warned to stay away from that area. That's a pimping and P&H zone, and it's that's a lot of that activity going on over there. It's kind of a neutral zone. But if your father or someone you did something very heinous to my family of some years ago, why not get his son? Hey, that's just a thought. I'm just putting it out there, and that's what I'm hearing. Word on the street. I'm in the hood every day.
Alpha Agnostic, you got something to say about this?
No.
Yes, to the next. You?
No, sir.
That's what's up. Boss man, if not, we're going to pivot on. Hey, salute to Brother JC who brought the story live during the last show. But then we have up next.
Young Bleed, rest in peace, Young Bleed. I mean, to me, that when that album came out, I bought his album. I was on the No Limit train 100%, and Young Bleed was one of them ones that came out with that who that or how you do that. Oh man, they killed it with that. And I love the whole album. So salute to Young Bleed. Fortunately, he passed away from I believe it was a brain aneurysm.
Yes,
he had
sir.
a brain aneurysm, so he passed away, and it was like maybe 2 days after the verses or whatever. So salute to that brother. Rest in peace, Young Bleed.
51 years old. Tragic.
How you do that there, Woody? Slow down. I can't believe you, Florida. You can't represent for Young Bleed. You got me in the Young Bleed, bruh. What's wrong with you, brother? Yo, rest in peace, Young Bleed. He was the same age as me, bruh. He was the same age as me. Rest in peace. How you do that there? Before New Orleans, there. We don't care. Salute. Rest in peace, brother.
And one more thing. He has a bunch of new music coming out. The brother Wicked from the Beehive show said that they recorded. They got an album full of songs. They was gonna come out with a new group. So they was recording, and he was getting back on his thing. So hopefully we look forward to some new music coming out from Young Bleed.
You said Wicked. You're not talking about the one that got put to sleep by Cowboy from Rolling 60s. No? Oh, okay, my bad. I just wanted to talk about that.
No.
Anybody else want to say something in closing? If not, let's pivot on.
That was inappropriate.
Yes. Marshawn Neeland. Now, Marshawn Neeland, he passed away, as it turns out, by suicide on Friday, November. I don't have the exact date, but I believe he got involved in a police chase, and I read that he basically texted his family and said goodbye. And I mean, you just never know what another person is dealing with, and he eluded the police, which was an accomplishment in itself, but then ultimately ended up shooting himself. So that's an absolute tragedy for his family, for him, for everybody. What's going on with you, brother Yusef? So at the end of the day, it's a tragedy, and what we like to say is like, look, if you're going through some things, reach out to somebody, reach out to a loved one, we got that suicide crisis hotline. The bottom line is if you can just push through whatever you're going through, maybe you can have a better thereafter. But rest in peace to this brother.
If you need help, if you need help with the suicide or want to talk with somebody, the suicide crisis hotline is 988. Dial 988, whatever state you in. If you need to talk to somebody about your crisis.
This might have something to do with CTE. You never know, even though he was a young brother, but he been playing football his whole life. So you never know. But mental health is definitely a real thing. And I guess they're going to, dissect his brain and figure it out later like they did with what's her brother Saya. You never know.
Yeah, I was going to say there was another brother, too, that used to play for the Raiders recently, like a week or so ago. Went through a similar situation, was arrested and died under custody. He was having some type of mental issues as well. So, we really need those services in the black community, those mental health services. But it's hard to have that when you got, the part of the ruling class, desiring to take those medical services away. We'll see more of these type of situations.
Got something to say, student next?
Yeah, no, just RIP. I wish that more people realize that that's not really necessarily the best option. But I think more people feel like maybe it is. So I'm not sure that it's going to be something that slows down. Partially due to what Afro just mentioned, but even more so the strain that we have. In the economy. In his case, he was playing football, but he wasn't cemented yet. And not to mention, the team and that defense wasn't doing that well, at all, so, they invest a lot into that. And maybe he felt like if he couldn't play football, it wasn't a life worth living. So, it's too bad.
Wow.
It's too bad.
Yep. You talk about that pressure is real on that field.
Yeah.
Man.
Because it's your peers, and then your family, you feel like you let your family down. People's hopes and dreams is on you, your hopes and dreams. And then if it's looking like, it's not there, then some people, it's just not the life that they want to live. And they just decide to check out, So, how do you combat that? If that's how somebody, that's what they are. So,
the worst way I heard
choices in life.
The worst way I heard is they say that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. The problem gonna go away. So just work through it, strive through it, and you'll get through it, and you'll be okay on the other side. You'll be all right on the other side.
Yeah, especially when it's cats like that, great shape, athlete, got, even if you don't play football, there's life beyond football, type of deal.
Oh wow!
My brother said he recently lost his mother. So a lot's going on. And like I said, who knows if there were other medications he was on? These things really come in play, but no one wants to ever talk about that. Those SSRIs is real. It's primarily it's a lot of women that's on them, but it's a lot some dudes too. And some of these medications, have you. Having daymares. I don't know if you know what a daymare is, but daymare is, homie, you awake, and then you have a nightmare, but awake. You know what I'm saying? That's ill. You know what I'm saying? So,
daymare.
All right. So that having been said, so rest in peace to all those people, and rest in peace to Snap. So that's what's going on. So there's a lot of people still not getting their benefits. Some people did because there was the order came down.
Oh man,
they started financing some dudes. But at the end of the day,
right now, bro, that's funny.
So yeah, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of people struggling, not getting food. And there's people like posting videos, like people in Africa telling their kids, make sure you eat all their food because there's kids starving in America. So that basically flipped that whole narrative that we've always talked about Africans. So that's tough. So it's real, Walk. I'm just saying, you can say what you want. I've seen the videos. Go ahead, brother.
Oh no, I bought my stamps yesterday from my boy. I got mine 100 for 50. What problem?
Afro agnostics, you got something you want to say about this? Did you freeze, brother?
He sure look like he froze.
He got a full freezing.
He got that little perk smile on him right there. I can't be right. You know what I mean?
He's having a daymare. But what's going on?
Right.
You got stuff to say about this Student X?
Yeah, man. It's just, man, it's never a good idea to rely on the government for anything. Let me say that, and so if there's ever like a shot fired across the bow, to wake up people up, to warn you, to look that, more could be to come, you're going to have to, I would suggest you adopt new strategies, so that, it just ends up being like extra, a bonus, if that's what it is. You see what I'm saying? Because, America is hurting. And it's not, it's not looking like there is going to be a recovery, anytime soon. America is being isolated. Countries aren't trying to do business with her. This trade deal with China did not go well and did not go according to American interests at all. So it's a lot more to come, is what I'm trying to say. So don't rely on government. Adopt new strategies.
That's what's up. Absolutely.
You got to just pull yourself up from the bootstrap.
Yeah. I thought you were being funny. Yeah, he is being funny. Yeah, look, hey, some people, put it this way, we got to do better, but some people are in the position that they're in, and it's just not an issue of just flicking the switch. So, to the extent that you need that, and we should be decent human beings and get that to you. But there's a lot of games.
But this is what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is not just on them. It's like, for those in the community, if this is something you're concerned about, then, organizing with others now to create an outlet for people to now be able to be taken care of and whatnot, and you could be, that blessing that they're looking for, you know what I mean? So, so again, you just can't rely on government, to do it. Should they? Look, if Avril was here, he'd say, yes, they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I'm saying just don't rely on that, and then look, if we get that and when we get that, then great. But in the meantime, you have way more leverage and way more bargaining power, if you just like, say, look, man, we don't need your little punk ass anyway, so, now what? You can leverage, what you bring to the table, a lot better, so there he is.
Yeah, belt and suspenders. I agree with you 100%. You got something? You're back, Alpha Ignatius. You want to say something about this whole snap situation?
But I don't know just a quick, the history of snap. Snap was kind of used to, I guess, to help people out using surplus agricultural goods. And to a large extent, they still use that indirectly. Grocery stores, they benefit from the usage of that as well. And actually, the whole goal of SNAP coming out of the New Deal is to save capitalism. It's, it's a socialistic reform to save capitalism. Without that, capitalism would collapse. So, as far as relying on the government, no, well, again, why is it on us to not be relying on the government? Why the government is always relying on us. So we should also, at the same token, say the government should not rely on our tax dollars, because as long as they're taking our money and they're taking our tax dollars, we want some of that redistributed to us instead of up. We want it to be distributed down. So that's the issue.
So that having been said, what do we have up next, Mr. Floyd X? I guess we're going to be talking about the whole government shutdown. So this is going on. It's as brother Student X mentioned, that Trump has broken his shutdown record, so he's already achieved that. And things are going pretty crazy. And now the airplanes are shutting down. The airports are shutting down. And I'm probably going to be facing a problem in a few weeks myself, because I'm supposed to be going somewhere. But it's way bigger than that. The fact that these people are just not.
They leave 10 hours early, man. I'm sorry,
man. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. And they're talking about work. You're talking about people working and not getting paid. They should have like we have like stocks and bonds, and you should be able to borrow this money. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're the government. The bottom line is you should be able to at least fund this stuff in the meanwhile. There's no reason why you should be expecting people to go to work and not paying them. You know what I'm saying? It's just that seems inhumane. What you got to say about this, Brother Walk?
It sound a little bit like slavery. We went through it for a little bit of time, so it's sort of the same thing. Now it's on the other foot. But I look at this as just like the Democrats and the Republicans. You playing that volleyball game. Oh, it's their fault. It's their fault. No, it's their fault. No, it's their fault. To get what they want. That's it. So I got my disability check from the military already, so I ain't tripping.
Afro-agnostics, you got something to say about that?
It's pretty self-centered there. So the whole shutdown mechanism is designed to promote bipartisanship so that it's not one party take all when it comes to the budget. But one thing Kanye mentioned when Kanye was at the White House was his admiration for Trump represented masculine energy, and I think a lot of men who would have otherwise, black men in particular, voted in a traditional way for the Democratic candidate. Trump represented that patriarchal brand of masculinity, and with that, attached to that is this notion that men don't bend, don't compromise, stand 10 toes down, don't cooperate. And I think that's why it's not coincidental that the longest government shutdowns have happened under his watch, under his regime. So I mean, as far as that, the reason why we have the shutdown being this long.
Student next, what you got to say, brother?
Yeah, once again, some people like to make things real complicated, like my brother's equations behind them. But if I had something behind me, it'd be like the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. What this is all about is political leverage, and at the end of the day, who's gonna turn the wheel first, and you could call it, whatever you want to, but the chicks dig that masculinity, Trump's not budging. He'll crash that car head on. And so, those Democrats, we know what's going to happen. They're going to turn the wheel, when they turn the wheel, this will be over, so, we'll just kick back and just wait until it happens. It is impacting travel. I can tell you that much. There's flights being canceled and everything, so, holiday travel, might be something, but I think it's going to be over sooner than later because the Democrats are already showing signs of weakness and about to break. Despite, what gains they felt they made in this election.
Hey, do anybody agree with Charlemagne the God that the Democrats should just give up and let open the government back up?
I'm so glad you said that. Because this is tied in. I don't know if Walt got a chance to speak first though, because we talked.
No, we don't. We're not gonna. We decided we're not gonna be a strict order. Go ahead. You got something to say? Go ahead.
As Brother Student X pointed out, this GOP civil war, that's divide and conquer in a sense. So there's no reason why black people, should sit this one out, or even the Dems if they're in the struggle and they're fighting on behalf of some things that can benefit more black people if they are, if these things don't happen, more black people will be more beneficial, or less harm at least will be done to black people. So, strategically, when you got a divided group like this, no, you continue to push. You don't give in. You don't capitulate. But I will say, the Dems have been Trump's best friend in a way, but clearly, this is the Republican, the GOP. They control the White House. They control the court. They control the Congress. Trump has more loyalty to him than any other person inside. He could end this quickly, but he doesn't want to. He's dangled the SNAP. I'm using SNAP. I'm telling the grocery stores, no, you cannot sell to recipients for a discount. No, we're not going to hold these contingency funds because we may need them for an emergency. Food starvation is an emergency. But
starving.
People are starving.
Ross, why do you think they have the program in the first place?
Who said nobody starving?
That was a walk, and it's like you see people are in lines. White people are in long lines for food over this. I mean, it's very insensitive and insane thing to draw. But look, you say the Democrats are gonna turn the wheel. why do you think the Democrats are going to turn the wheel? To me, I'm just saying the reason why I think that you think that is because they care about the people.
No,
is that what it is?
Nope. It's actually the opposite, because what I believe the Trump administration is still on is waste, fraud, and abuse. And so there is no better example, as Walk indicated to us earlier, about the waste, fraud, and abuse when it comes to food stamps and other benefits that are coming down to the people. You know what I mean? It's and right now, on top of that, when it comes to immigration, he's trying to also make sure that those who are undocumented don't have access to these funds, because it's all about trying to rein in, save money, because America is hemorrhaging. People just don't realize the status of America. They don't think it's burning. It's like they have like a spell cast, and they're not seeing what's really popping off right here. That we're in a state of desperation. In this country, in a lot of ways. And so that's why I believe that ultimately, they will capitulate, because, like the brother mentioned, that Republicans are still in power, and Trump, that's the type of dude he is. And I think people understand by now, he's not budging.
That has nothing to do with capitulation. That has nothing to do with capitulation. If they have the power, they can exercise it. What they can do is do the nuclear option. They don't have to wait on the Democrats. The Democrats have basically, what they have done is they said, look, we're going to ask for one thing. That's what the deal that they just offered. They said, look, we're just asking you to extend the Affordable Act things for 1 year. That's what they're asking for. That's it. And they'll open everything up. And they're saying no. And the real impact behind not doing that is that people's premiums will go way up. This is like literally hurting people. Our next segment, we're going to talk about Election Tuesday, but they're winning this shutdown. It's the people that are losing. And if the Democrats turn the wheel, it's because they give a shit about the people, because clearly Trump doesn't.
Nice guy. Real quick, can you explain the nuclear option?
So the nuclear option is getting rid of the filibuster. So the filibuster, I believe, requires a certain number of, basically it ensures that there's bipartisan input on particular deals. Whereas if you get rid of the filibuster and now it's strictly based on a majority, well, they have the majority. They have the majority in the Senate. They have the majority in the House. And like you said, they run the Supreme Court. They run all of these things. They got the president. They got the vice president who's a deciding vote in situations where it's like 50-50. So the bottom line is they have the numbers to do what they want. And Trump is telling them, yes, do the filibuster, get rid of it, and the Democrats will never get power again. We'll control this for the rest of history. That's literally what Trump said out of his own mouth.
Because, real men, especially fascist men, they don't cooperate. They don't. Imagine Hitler, imagine Mussolini or Franco compromising with opposition parties. They don't cooperate, So, and what he said was suggested that waste, fraud, and abuse was highest amongst immigrants, spending on immigrants, or they represented that, and also welfare recipients. Again, it's this one-sided view. You don't look at the resources that are being given to corporations as corporate welfare. When was the most prosperous time for the United States? When when the gap between rich and poor was the smallest. Does anyone know? I'm gonna tell you, the 40s and the 50s is referred to as a golden age. Why was it like that? They taxed the rich at 80%. Damn. So Jesus. If they want to have that same prosperity, you don't go after the immigrants. That's nothing. They 3% of the population. The billionaires or the ruling top make up 3%. They're the ones that are robbing you with these tax brackets. But again, when you are not informed, you're thinking qualitatively, anecdotally, and you're looking at your your enemies as your friends. And your
let's hear from Walk. Let's hear what Walk got to say about it.
So brother Agnostic, you wouldn't mind being taxed at 80%? That is that's what though, buddy. I don't see it. That's crazy. That helped back then.
Are you a part of the?
If I work and I make $1, I don't want to give away 80 cents of that. No.
No, not you. People above a certain tax bracket.
I'm
For
saying.
instance,
Wait, hold on.
For instance,
That's
though.
what I'm saying. Let's say
Okay.
I was Bill Gates. Even if I was Bill Gates, I wouldn't, just like us as broke people or below the line, wouldn't want to do it either. I don't think that's fair.
When everybody is doing it uniformly above that, and I'm not necessarily committed to that, but a millionaire or a billionaire shouldn't be paying the same percentage of taxes as someone making $300,000. That's just not fair. They make more, they should pay at a higher rate. Why cap it off?
Their American experience is a completely different from our American experience. You're buying the premium and American experience package, you should be paying a little extra for that. That's the reality of it. You got something to say, Mr. Fuentes?
No, I don't. I want to understand why Mr. Walk is waving the flag when we're on this topic. What does that mean, Mr. Walk?
Because I got that definition.
Because I'm hearing y'all talk, some of y'all, and it's sounding like y'all not patriotic about this country, bro. We here. Y'all know what's going on in Africa and Venezuela and different countries like that. And we like, the Democrats and the Republicans, they don't want to pass the bill for food stamps. But we still here, and people still trying to get over here. We here, baby. So let's make the best of it.
But I mean, the democracy is at play, right? The democracy is at play. The Democrats is holding out, trying to get this Medicare thing going, and the Republicans are not allowing the House, the Senate to be open. And I mean, it's democracy at work, but to wave the flag, I mean, I'm still don't understand.
This is the tit for tat. This Donald Trump was elected, so let him do what he's supposed to do. Ain't that what really supposed? That's what's supposed to happen. I kind of feel that's what's supposed to happen. All this other stuff is just a game that they play.
There got to be checks and balances, though.
Wait, hold on. The Democrats do not have a staunch message. They just don't. We don't even know who is really going to run. They got these clowns like Newsom. You got Kamala poking her head back up. They don't have a message. At least Donald Trump is standing firm on what he's saying, and he ain't budging, cousin.
Man, I mean, I want to get the Fuentes and Carlson. So can we go to the commercial?
Yeah, please.
Let's go to commercial. Where they at? The brand of trucking for all your trucking needs. East Coast to West Coast, West Coast to East Coast, North to South, South to North, South to West, South to North, all over. Y'all saw the number. Call it. You need something delivered, call it. And for the record, like where Bill Maher used to call him Fucker Carlson.
That's GoBeAlive.org. Go get you some of that black honey. And if you want it in person, go to the Petty Vice in Venice or to the Afro City Marketplace. Salute, Sister Mitra.
Score Bar and Lounge, 7123 Franklin Boulevard. Go check them out. Go watch the football. They got college football today. Go look at go today and go watch some college football at the Score Bar and Lounge. They got good food, good drink, good people, great environment. And then go check them out again tomorrow, Sunday football.
Sex Talk will walk every Thursday, 9 p.m. This week, I'll be talking about sex in America and how it will be affecting the political change. I'm just joking.
All right. Where we at, nice guy?
All right. First of all, we didn't give our proper salute to, these people. we talked about them last week, but they actually played and won the World Series. So salute to the Dodgers. Had that parade on Monday. You know, no incidents, a whole lot of cussing and FCC fines forthcoming. But you know, salute to the Dodgers for doing big things. I mean, that game, man, they look dead in the water, man. How they pulled that out. I mean, that was just, you know, salute to those brothers. They did that.
It was the first time I ever sat down with my family and watched baseball.
Wow.
First time ever. Me, my wife, and my 2 daughters, we sat there and watched the game to the end and enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good game.
But you had a wide screen though, didn't you?
Hey, Student X, I know you got something to say about these Dodgers. Particularly that Dodger game.
Student X said Nick Fuentes, goddammit. Why are we talking about the Dodgers? Why
we gonna talk about them. We're gonna talk about them. We don't have nothing. We don't have a show after this, so if we need to extend a little bit longer, we'll get to it. I assure you.
Go! Congratulations, Dodgers.
That's it.
What's up? Hey, you know what? And salute to the Lakers because they've been doing big things. You know what I'm saying? So they've been
pushing it, nice guy. You pushing it.
Go Lakers.
Go Lakers.
You said go Lakers.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about this guy. You know, Mr. Nick Fuentes. You know, Mr. Nick Fuentes. Carlson Tucker did an interview, and I gotta tell you, I watched that whole interview. I thought it was an amazing experience. I thought it was very informative, and I thought, wow. This dude doesn't sound like a white nationalist. He sounds like a nationalist that is white. Well, I've since heard a whole lot of other stuff that he says. And yeah, that interview was a super softball. And you talking about basically softening up somebody and making them more consumable and palatable. I mean, I think, you know, Tucker Carlson deserves some criticism there. I do think that he made some great points.
Carlson.
I think he made some great points, but I'm just telling you, I felt really bad about the fact that someone came to his house and tried to kill him. You know, even though he says what he says, and I think he's you know, takes some moralic stances. You know, at the end of the day, man, that was too much. But
let me say this real quick. To jump to that, when you talk about the white dude coming to his house, he's making the same mistake that Charlie Kirk made. He concerning himself about his fear of black people, and it's the white people that's trying to kill him.
That's what's up. It happened. White on white violence. You know, that's you know, you're most likely to be killed by the people that you're around. So that's how that works out. You got something to say about this, Brother Walt? That's cool. Mr. Apple Agnostics. What do you think about this? Go ahead.
You know, I guess to sum it up, it represents the Civil War that's happening within MAGA or within white conservative or white nationalist politics. You know, Tucker wouldn't touch this guy a year or so ago. All of a sudden, he's on here, softball interview. I mean, folks, yeah, you already know what he's about. This whole Charlie Kirk, his murder represents this. This is a real civil war. It's violent. You know, his attempted, someone attempted to kill him. Like these folks are really cool, and we should take advantage of that to advance our interests. You know, we never sit idly by. And when you know your enemies are fighting each other, you know what I'm saying, you got to think chess and try to take advantage of that opportunity. But I want to say one issue real quick is this issue over Israel or Zionism and stuff like that. The right, they oppose it for anti-Semitic reasons, for reasons of Jewish identity. They don't want to give sources, you know, reasons of American first. And on the interview, it's very clear from a white nationalist view, America first means white people. People left oppose it for other reasons because they're anti-apartheid, anti-settler colonial state, anti-imperialism. So there's a big difference why. And they're so stupid that they're shooting themselves in their own foot. Like if you get rid of Israel, you know how much it's going to cost you to control the Middle East? Are you kidding me? You know, right? Or you have to put boots on the ground. They so stupid, they don't understand that the Israel is there so you don't have to put boots on the ground. They talk, $3.8 billion goes to Israel. That ain't shit. They're making a couple of trillion every year in terms of exchange of goods with the Middle East. So, I mean, you know, again, this is white nationalist perspective. They're not thinking anti-imperialism. They're on some old anti-Semitism.
Brother,
Do the
student
dance.
next.
Let's go.
There you go. You got the floor, brother. We quiet. Spotlight.
Yeah. No, but you don't have to even, you know, give me the whole screen, you know, but this is, you know, something I definitely was more excited to talk about, namely because, you know, there is a lot of confusion around this issue and this topic, I feel, you know. And number one, let's start with the fact of if this was a softball interview or not. I mean, first of all, for those that know the history, Nick Fuentes had a lot of negative things to say about Tucker, and then, you know, Tucker came back and then was asking, you know, and trying to figure out, was he an agent because of how he was moving. Tucker recalled in the past how David Dukes used to always try to attach himself and talk about how wonderful Tucker was and highlight a lot of his interviews and whatnot. And Tucker didn't solicit this at all, nor wanted it. And so he just felt like it was Tucker felt like it was some sort of, you know, operation that was being done on him to kind of put him in a certain light. And Tucker didn't appreciate that, you know. And so then when he saw this Fuentes thing going on and everything, you know, so this was the backdrop, was what I'm trying to say. And so Tucker, he brought him on here on the show because he wanted to get an understanding of who Nick is, you know, and in addition to, you know, kind of learn a little bit more about, you know, what was kind of driving his frustration towards him. And so if that's what it was, and that was his motivation, Tucker accomplished that. You know what I mean? Now, I know many of us maybe had different outcomes of the interview we would have wanted, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, you know, he did it. Now, where the anger is centered around is that for years before social media, there was always a group of individuals that had say-so as to who got airtime on television, who the people could hear from, you know what I mean, who they could listen to, and who they were allowed to hear speak. You know, and if you did not have the permission of these networks, you know, then, you know, you weren't able to be heard. You know what I mean? And so now that's changed. And so now there's an anger from, you know, those other groups that, you know, say, hey, we didn't give you permission to be able to talk to that guy or speak to that guy, because then what happens is oftentimes these figures would get humanized. You start to get a better understanding of who they are instead of having the media come and try to tell you who an individual is, you know, whom had no chance to introduce themselves to you, to the general public, you know, who are now being propagandized. You see what I'm saying?
Mr. Fuentes has some videos to show us exactly what he is, and you can see exactly for yourself, and we'll let you get back to it. Go ahead.
Real quick, let me try to catch up with just a little bit. Student Yusef said, so you sound like a patriot. I believe that's aimed at Brother Afro when you was talking about the Israel. That's what I believe it was aimed at you with that.
Can I just say real quick, fuck Israel, I hope they dissolve immediately.
Damn. Okay.
Does he still sound like a patriot to you?
Man. Okay. All right. No. So back to the Nick Fuentes. Okay. Let's introduce him. Like, if a lot of you may be like me, I heard the name, but I didn't pay no attention. He been around, and I was reminded watching that interview that he's the one that Kanye West brought to that dinner at Trump in Mar-a-Lago, and so I remember that was like he brought a racist to Trump House or something, they said. So let's remind, I got video clips of him, and let me see which clips I want to say. He's disparaging towards black. I'll say that first of all. Let me play it.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. And it goes without saying, it's not every black person. Obviously, I think we're past that. We're past that having to be said. But it's enough of them at this point. And
all right, that's one now. It's crazy right here. Let's check this out.
I'd rather be alive. I'd rather be alive and too racist than dead and not racist enough. Is that simple enough? Is that simple enough for you? And that just has to do with personal survival. Who wants to live near these people? We see it. They take the Walmarts out of the neighborhood. First, they take the self-checkouts.
We all know the cases where Nick is talking about and where you and me think about. We all know what kind of black people those are. And I'm sure that even the good black people, they also disagree with this behavior, or I hope so. But
See, I don't know if it bothers me that people like that little guy that's in the corner, the little white guy in the corner that's talking. He is the to me he's the ones that the people that are listening to Nick Fuentes and agreeing. So I don't know if he's pulling them out and they're coming to the light, showing who they are, or are he creating them? That's the question in my head. Are those people coming to the light, or are he creating young white people who didn't think bad about black people, but now listening to Nick Fuentes, they have that feeling of, oh man, that's true. These black people are this. These black people do mess stuff up. They kicking and destroying everything. Which one is it?
Well, hell, I got a question myself. What did he say wrong?
That black. What did he say wrong?
He said that enough of them.
What did he say wrong?
What he said wrong was enough of them.
Did he say something wrong? That's what I'm trying to say.
Let's fully articulate.
Let nice guy answer. Let nice guy answer. Go ahead, nice guy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So he said enough of them. We seen enough of them. You know what I'm saying? Again, what is this concept of enough of them? You know what I'm saying? We've seen enough of white people. Do we really want to talk about white people's history over the world? I mean, I don't understand this logic. You got to understand that there's a lot of black people that are in a terrible place, and it's because of basically what they grew up out of, circumstances that basically created the monsters that you see. Chris Rock is on record saying, I love black people, but I can't stand niggas. And I'm just telling you, most black people agree with that. But I'm just telling you.
But that's what he said too.
That's not what he said. He said there's
Yeah.
enough of them that it just doesn't justify for them to even be
Look,
here.
let me tell you what I heard. And I'm a person that I've been around a very diverse group of people. For those that don't know, I've been in posting the Nation of Islam into corporate America. You know what I mean? Where I'm the only brother, among my colleagues. You know what I mean? So I seen the whole entire spectrum, and so what I'm trying to say is that, it is not uncommon, in particular in these cities, these inner cities, that have, high murder rates, such as Chicago, such as Baltimore, such as DC, to where like white people walking from their homes down from the bar, bro, they get mugged all the damn time. You know what I mean? And get rid on a regular basis.
That black people are just violent and destructive?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what I heard Nick say was that, look, if I'm taking a calculated, a risk, because first of all, you got to keep in perspective, Nick is like about 5'5", 5'6", you know what I mean? Little white dude, you know what I mean? And he's thinking like, well, damn, if I'm going to increase my odds, of not having an incident, then I have a higher likelihood of that not happening if I'm among a bunch of white people, than, among in these inner cities around, a more diverse group of people. Is what he's saying. And by the calculus, he's probably right. I mean, hell, this video is not right.
He's not right. You can be around a whole bunch of black people that will welcome you to the barbecue if you weren't talking all this nigga.
Let's deal with that. Let's deal with that calculus right quick, because there is a certain truth. I want to be in unity with Student X on this. There's a truth to that. Black people kill each other at a higher, ever since the first homicide statistics were taken, we kill each other at a higher rate than white people kill each other. But there's a hierarchy to the proportionality around fratricide or the killing within one's own race, where people at the top, the most privileged, kill each other least. And then the Mexicans kill each other at a higher proportional rate. Native Americans kill each other at a higher proportional rate. So it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with economics. So, but it's the issue, the way he's framing it, as if there's some deficiency, some lack of morality amongst black people, when that has nothing to do with the issue. And also, Nick Fuentes is a Holocaust denier. He has praised Hitler. He denigrates women, calling women baby machines. And he don't got no woman. He don't got no woman. He critiques Charlie Kirk as not going far right enough. So I'm just saying he's a far right white nationalist racist. I mean, that's hands down. He wants to go back to handmaiden tails type of thing. But he represents a split with, and we can't expect Tucker Carlson, a racist, is not going to call out another racist. You know what I'm saying? They're both in the same camp. You know what I'm saying? Of course, it's going to be softball when it comes to racism, and because they vote for
Tucker
those
Carlson.
Yeah.
I think y'all should put some respect on Tucker Carlson's name, bro. You know, because like I said, the beautiful thing about
It's Tucker Carlson.
As an example,
he's
real
about
quick,
to have wonderful interviews, bro. Like this one,
harder than he did Nick Fuentes. I mean, he's going to go after who he wants to go after. He selectively didn't go after Nick Fuentes because he's getting more influential within MAGA. So Tucker decided, because he's independent on Fox now, and he has the most watched conservative news things to a certain extent outside of Fox. So he's just aligning himself, and it represents a shift in MAGA. They're trying to push MAGA even further and further to the right, because that's what fascism demands.
Real quick, Student X, would you like to address Big Cuz says, X, you are part of the problem co-signing black stereotypes.
Yeah, no, bro, I don't do that at all. You know, however, what I do is that, you know, there's a reality, you know, at the end of the day. And a lot of times we don't put ourselves into other people's shoes. And so what I learned, you know, just based on, you know, my belief system, I believe that
black people, hold on. You're saying black people? I think we do that the most out of any group. You don't think so?
Do what the most?
Put ourselves in other shoes. You don't think so? Than any other
I mean, like it's, bro, individuals do different things. You know, I don't know, like, it's a group, if I would say that, you know, or not. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, in this particular case right here, you know, I think it's real simple. You know, like, white people are concerned about their extinction. You know what I mean? I mean, they are in this genetically hostile environment where now they're surrounded by all these brown people, to where all it takes is for their daughters to fall in love, you know what I mean, with one of these brown people, and now the offspring is no longer looking like them. You know what I mean? You know, this is a concern they have, you know, and Nick highlighted that because he also said one of the major reasons for that concern is our cultures and our values, you know, are now, you know, shifting because, you know, the children aren't aligning and the people aren't aligning with, you know, what was traditionally those values that so-called Americans held true. You see what I'm saying? You know, so the whole thing is just shifting based on the fact that there's a browning of America, and there's a lot of white people. So I don't think that's, you know, me pointing that out, it doesn't make me, like, you know, a co-signer of tactics they might deploy to address that or anything. I'm just calling out that, look, they have concern.
They keep going in a different direction.
May I take a page from our great holy book, the Bible?
Yes, okay, amen, brother.
Right. You know, the Egyptian exile, the Egyptian captivity story, you know, represents, especially in ancient times, numbers were very important. To have numerical dominance over a population is very important. So white people have always done that. This is the reason why Puerto Rico has never been incorporated as a state. It doesn't have a white majority. You know, when the different states were formed, that was a part of the criteria. You had to graduate to a state. There were stages, and part of you had to do a consensus where there had to be a domination, a numerical superiority of white people. And yeah, they're in fear of losing that, and that's part of white supremacy.
That was powerful what you just said, bro.
I'm not going to sympathize with them for that or support that. That's just called white supremacy. We should be against that.
Let's go to another clip of this Nick guy so y'all can see what we're talking about here.
They blame us. They don't even like us. They blame the government. They blame history. They blame our ancestors. At this point, people want to move as far away as possible, build a fence around them, and say, fine. You invented everything. You're all a bunch of doctors and lawyers and black excellence. You're so incredible. Fine. We're going to all live over there, and we're not going to be able to dance, and we'll be lame, right? Like they always say about us. And we're going to drink matcha and have lattes, but we're going to be safe. It's going to be quiet, peaceful, harmonious, clean, and you can go and live over there, and we'll build a giant fucking fence. And whatever you do, God bless. Lots of luck. That's how a lot of people feel right now.
Now, with
Thank
that being
God.
said, wait,
Thank
with that
God.
being, you're saying thank God?
Yes, sir. Brother, how you not saying thank God, brother?
A white man gonna break into his house and try to kill him. With all
Yes.
that he just said, with all the
Brother Floyd, let me ask you a question, brother.
What race of people is eating people and doing stuff like what race of people has like the worst killers in history as far as you talking about?
So look, but nice.
Like
1 second. I hear you. But let me ask Brother Floyd a question, brother. How can you not be online and promoting it now?
I see
you
where
know what I mean?
I agree.
You could have played it better.
Let me answer.
The reason why.
Because the reason I can't be online and promote it is because we are black people today. The stuff he's talking today is putting black people in danger today. He's talking about, oh yeah, they this and that. If all these young white children or young white men is paying attention to him, they're gonna start looking at black people and want to become cops. He's going to create these renegade cops that's killing black people. He's creating them. He's creating them. They join the force and they're going to kill black people because they're going to be like, yeah, these people are a problem anyway.
I'm going to give you a different perspective, brother. Hold on, wait. He responded. Let me respond to him, brother.
I know before you, I just want to guess what you're going to say, and I want you to say it. But I think Student X is harping on the fact that, look, he's talking about black people being allowed to be together and do black things, or whatever.
Separation.
I don't see no issue with that as far as black. If you're going to leave, bottom line, if you're going to leave black people alone, sure, I'm going to salute that all day. Go ahead, Student X. Say what you're about to say.
No, but you took words right out of my mouth, because the thing is that when I asked Brother Floyd in particular, it was the most honorable Elijah Muhammad himself who had told us, and we have it inside the program, is that one day, ultimately, what we were looking for was the way for when the masses of white people who would say that, hey, look, we would sign off on you, because we were creating so much dissatisfaction in the land that they will be willing to sign off on giving us an area here in America, minerally rich, with ocean access, to fertile farmland, where we could go ahead and make a nation within a nation and provide for ourselves, and then, we could go ahead and then all this shit that we've been talking, we could go ahead and practice it and put it up to the test and call out Nick and then go ahead and show, because Nick don't believe that we create, some garbage, but if that's what white people is on and they're willing to take, the nation was calling for something like 20 billion, I think it was, over the course of a period of time to help fund this, and fund that infrastructure. So why not?
Let me say this, Student X. I understand where you're coming from, but we have to separate the utopia of us going and doing our shit and separate him creating these killers. He's creating little killers of black people. He's creating them. This talking is creating these people that's looking at us. Yeah, they are the scourge of the earth. They are that. They are the ones trashing the Walmarts, and they're the reason that
all black people, bro. If you fit the script,
he just said,
script. You know what I mean? If that's what you're doing, that's what you're
all black. He said that. Student X. He said that. He said the same thing.
He's making it a black thing. Go ahead.
Not all black people.
He's making it a black thing. Go ahead.
When you talk about pure war, pure death, and pure violence, there's no group more violent than white Anglo-Saxon Protestants in the United States. I mean, they killed 500.
Am I supposed to argue against you? Am I supposed to argue against that fact?
Over the issue of slavery. I mean, goddamn, that's more than all the World War I, World War II, the combined deaths. I mean, no, so that's what I was.
What's that have to do with what I said?
You said what?
I said, what's that have to do with what I said? I said that when Nick was promoting, that's not what you as a black.
No, I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that. I was just adding on to what Nice Guy said. But as far as what he said, so one thing is that you're reading into his rhetoric something other than what he said. He's saying words in some fantasy that he has in mind, but there's no reality, no resources, no plan to make anything like that happen. And what he's saying more practically just turns out to be back to de jure segregation.
Political power.
Much what he's saying. So you say what?
If his mind of thinking gains political power here in America, then what are you talking about?
No, I'm saying he has. That's not
He's
even a
the youth.
plan.
He's up and coming.
That's not the
He's
plan.
next.
That's not the plan.
Well, you
That's
asked
how
me
we-
what I was talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
the question is, what is he talking about? We don't know. You're reading into it. Like
Right.
we can have.
I know
a
what he's
plan
talking about,
for-
brother.
No, it's the same thing. George Lincoln Rockwell, we're talking about. It's the same thing that even the government, other people have talked about this, but no one has actually done it because it's a stupid isolationism that he's applying within the United States and outside the United States. That's not going to work. They need to exploit labor. White people, there's a lot of white jobs that are due to, like for instance, California. Black people make up less than 8% of the population, but we make up a far larger percentage of the prison labor. And that's also employment for white people in those areas where those prisons are built. So this whole notion that they're going to separate from everyone, they can't. The whole society is dependent upon the exploitation of people of color. That is not going to work. And this whole thing about pulling out of Israel and do what? And you're going to spend $1 trillion a year now fighting over there in Iraq and Iran, Israel is there to create a balance of power that's favorable to the financial interests of the United States.
Let's get back to the Nick Fuentes. Okay. Let's get back to the Nick Fuentes part. Now,
I'm just saying that's just a fantasy rhetoric he's talking about.
He was talking about Nick. He was just saying that what Nick ultimately is talking about, is not reality. You know what I mean?
It's not even it's not even material.
This is the future of the Republican Party, is what it's looking like right now. Now, let's harp on the question: is this good or bad for Black people in America today? If Nick Fuentes is the future, because it looks like he is, he's going to be the future of the GOP party, the grand old party. He's going to look like the future. Is this good or bad for Black people?
It's terrible for Black people. It's terrible for
Black
Black
people.
Nice guy. The reason why it's terrible for Black people is because he talks a good talk. I agree. If you can free the land, if you can give us what Student X was talking about it, trust me, I love my chances of living that type of a life. So I sign up for that in an instant. But my point is that what he's saying, he's telling you he's dangling something that's not going to happen, because he's saying that, look, we're never going to reach this. The reality is we just need to get rid of them. They're the problem. We can't live with them. They're just inherently bad. They're inherently criminals. You know what I'm saying? I understand that there's some good old Blackies, you know what I'm saying? But the majority of them are just intrinsically bad. And that's the problem. And we just got to step up and acknowledge that that's the truth. Saying. We got to defend whites. Whites need to survive. That's what he's talking about. So fuck that. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he is talking about that. And I'm saying that, that he's a white man. So what else is he supposed to talk about? You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. What else is he supposed to talk about? He's a white man. You know what I mean?
And what are you as a Black man supposed to talk about?
Yeah, about defending my family, lifting up, myself to be stronger in the society, regardless of circumstances and obstacles, that are in my path. That's what I'm talking about. And furthermore, I don't just talk. I walk. You know what I mean? Sometimes I run.
I'm saying he's talking about his people, his group, as a whole, and you're talking about your family. So you're using a strategy that's atomized into individuality.
Because I realize this. Ideology is stronger than family. Ideology is stronger than family. So that what I mean is that there is some of us look at family just through the lens of just the color, the skin tone, that you might have, what type of melanin you might have. You know what I mean? Some of us look at family in terms of bloodlines, like who is in my family tree and whatnot, who shares my same blood. But then some of us look at family even beyond a deeper lens when we're looking at ourselves through a spiritual family. You know what I mean? The ones that are connected to our values, ones who are moving like us, kind of see some of the same things that we're doing. And so, I have a greater family than just me. But for me to be valuable to that, I need to be strong as an individual. So if let me
interrupt. Let's now, if we're looking at him as the future of the GOP, let's see what the pushback is. This is Ben Shapiro. Go ahead. What you guys say?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is Ben Shapiro. And this is one of the people that's pushing back against Nick Fuentes and Nick Fuentes accuses him, or he's accused of trying to suppress or get or cancel Nick Fuentes. This is Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire. This is what he had to say about it.
Holistic fashion. That topic is the fragmentation of the political right. That fragmentation is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes. They call themselves the Groypers. They are white supremacists. They hate women, Jews, Hindus, many types of Christians, brown people of a wide variety of backgrounds, blacks, America's foreign policy, and America's Constitution. They admire Hitler and Stalin. And that splinter faction is now being facilitated and normalized within the mainstream Republican Party. The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and a terrible friend. And Tucker Carlson...
Wait. It's Fucker Carlson.
Long live Tucker.
So I want to say really quick. So within every organization, you have a right and a left. This actually comes from French Revolution. So if there, that's where MAGA is right now. And I would say, we don't even have the left doesn't exist. The Democratic Party is where the GOP was, 20 years ago. They're right centered, and then everything else is to the right of that. I'm of the opinion that further to the right we go, the more harm will be done to Black people. So we know that if we stand idly by, we have to make a move, because to move, to act, or to not act, to do something to decrease or increase whichever faction will do us the worst is, that to me, that's the essential question, because, you're going to have political consequences regardless. Are they going to be less harmful or more harmful?
Yeah. If we so-called Black people stay the course, then you're absolutely right. Because there's clearly a trend, to where people are not appreciating the contributions, to society and culture, that is coming from a large segment of our population, the Black community. It's not obviously all of us, and like Nick said, we're beyond that. People that's listening, we understand who we're talking about. But for those that do not adopt better strategies and move better, then they are going to be ostracized, and we've seen it through history before. I mean, there was a whole group of people. The Jews in 1492 was kicked out of Spain. Every last one of them. And it wasn't that the people were like, okay, hey, all y'all are guilty. It was more like, man, we don't know who to separate who from who, and so everyone had to go. And then shortly after, they dispersed and went to other places. They ended up in Portugal and other places, and even some of those places ended up.
I'm saying, you don't see how what you're saying is the fairy tale of colonialism. You don't see, like, we got to do something.
I'm talking facts. You keep talking about fairy tale colonialism.
I'm saying everywhere facts. They go.
Did that happen? Did that historically happen?
What historically happened?
That they keep the Jews out of Spain.
Who we call the Jews today, those Eastern European Jews, Hasidic Jews, did they get kicked out of Spain in 1492?
That's called persecution, sir. What are you talking about?
But what I'm saying is that I'm comparing it to right now today. It wasn't in a nutshell. It wasn't like all of a sudden that people are like, "Oh man, we hate those Jews. We hate those Jews."
Yeah,
there was something.
Let me tell you what.
That started shaping the back of others that were there that agreed and said, "Hey, they gotta go."
If Jews could backwards plan, as an example, in the 15th century, right when that happened, they would improve their strategies for whatever issue was within the ruling class to go with the class that was better representing their interests. Not everyone, because prior to 1492, they were not persecuting the Jews in the same way. There was a certain Nick Fuentes of that day that was pushing the ruling class further to the right and pushing anti-Semitism as an example. So a strategy is to not, we're going to improve ourselves morally or do something to protect ourselves. The best way to protect yourself is to prevent those from the Nick Fuentes and his movement, his organization, from seceding.
Okay, so how do you do that? I've always argued through Black excellence, but you guys always shoot back at me, on that, Right now, there is a certain class.
Let me just give you an example really quick. Real quick, because you asked, how do you do that? It's called a power analysis. And we can talk about that one day. That's the beginning step of how you do that. How you do that there?
Well, I'm saying, look, you better do it quick, brother, because why you been holding back? You know what I mean? Because this has been going on for a long time.
Holding back. It's not anything.
Well, I'm saying that if you had an answer,
real quick, let me excuse me. Let's go to somebody else who's pushing back against the Nick Fuentes type. This is Mark Levin. He's be a radio host. I forget what else he does, but
Mark Levin. Hey, there's a certain similarity I'm starting to see in this trend.
Let's go.
And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me. And you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast is going to change the world like hell it is, not if I and everybody else have something to say about it. We cancel stuff all the damn time. Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them.
How about little Ada Fuentes?
We cancel stuff all the damn time.
How about Tucker Kataro?
But what he's saying is they're working against. So this is those two
Jewish
factions.
supremacy is what he said. Jewish supremacy.
Okay, because he does lump in Jewish with America. He does lump them in together. He does that. But
we can see all the time.
Okay, they're at war with each other. They're going back and forth with each other. And what we're trying to get to is maybe what side should we join as black folk? If this is important to us, what side do they just sit back? Like I think Student X say we just sit back and watch the show or something like that. Did you say that, Student X?
Well, what I said was first and foremost that Brother Yusuf been telling us for a long time that this is a war between the Anglo-Saxon and the Ashkenazi. He been saying that, brother, since I didn't know him, brother. Ever since I didn't know this, brother, for years. You know, he's been saying that. You know, and so that's what he said that. But yeah, in regards to this right here, yeah, you know what I mean. That's what I'm on. That's what I'm on. You know, in terms of where we're at right now, is that, but what do we look like? You jumping into, you know, this, you know what I mean? As if like, you know, the Zionist, you know, has come to our rescue and been our greatest friend and our ally. You know what I mean? Who would want to ally with them? If you black, you
they started the NAACP.
You know what I mean? Straight up. You know what I mean? Straight up. You know, that's how I'm looking at it right there. You know, so then now in regards to then we look at the other side, you know, well, hell, we've been catching hell from that side for a long time. I understand that, you know, the devil I know might be better than the one I don't, you know what I'm saying? But let's look, you know, prepare, strengthen yourself, your family, your household, and just, you grab some popcorn, you know what I'm saying? You know, and then, you know, but hey, that's where I'm at with it. But, you know, I know Afro disagrees.
Go ahead, brother Afro.
Playing chess, man. When you play chess, man, this is, we kind of frame this as divide and conquer, right? When it's done to us. If white folks are fighting each other, let's say, for instance, during the Civil War, again, I bring up this analogy, the North fighting the South. Did we have the luxury or the convenience of sitting idly by, sitting just doing nothing? No. Clearly, our interest was with the North. So we acted on our interest and we turned the tide of fight. If it were not for our involvement, the South would have probably won. And slavery will still exist or have existed longer. So again, to act or to not act always has political consequences. And again, you do a power analysis, you see where your interests lie, and you do things tactically and strategically within organizations to, you know, to decrease or, you know, or increase a certain factor or variable that will advance your interests. I mean, this is ABC. I think also when this whole thing this dichotomy, what did you call it? The white Anglo-Saxon Protestants versus the Ashkenazics, was that involved in the Civil War? Is that the framework? That's the dichotomy of the Civil War?
Bro, it's always been involved. It was always been involved, brother.
It was all. You guys are presenting
it played a role. What were we talking about? Industrialists up north, you know, and more farm labor, you know,
what
and producers and south.
What industrialists
and guess who? And guess who was playing hand in both? Say again?
I can name 10 industrialists off the hand that are all white
Yeah, I
Anglo-Saxon.
think
Name me one.
we have a graphic of the power structure. Hold on a second. Let me pull it back up. Let me pull this up. Yeah, so there you go. See, there goes Jewish power, and there goes Anglo-Saxon power. So yeah, just
Hey, look, a cold game because when they have two intelligent brothers like you seeing it like that, mission accomplished, from their standpoint. You know what I mean? But it's a cold game, if you don't, and speaking of chess, if you don't know how to play chess and how this game is being played geopolitically, as well as when you start dipping into the criminal underworld and you start looking at, intelligence agencies and how things are being played out, bro, when people have leverage over you, in other words, have you in a position to where they can have you blackmailed, and have you compromised. You see what I'm saying? Then
they
now
don't have leverage. They don't have leverage. They don't have leverage. They don't have leverage over Israel. You saying America doesn't have leverage over Israel?
It's the other way around. Israel got way more leverage over American politicians.
So what would happen? What would happen? What would happen? What would happen if America pulled away all its aid from Israel?
But it won't.
I didn't ask you that. My question is, what would happen?
What do you think would happen?
Israel would cease to exist.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
What do you think will happen?
Power is kind of crazy.
But again,
they're whisperers. If you want to say
what I said is that will never happen because what is in place. You know what I mean? That would never happen like that.
Let me tell you why. Because the United States did not establish Israel. Do you agree to that?
That the United States did not, bro. We already talked about the Balfour. We understand historically how it came into existence.
But so the United States did start.
But do we understand that at one point the British kind of washed their hands of it too and was done with it? You know what I mean?
So all you have to do is say yes.
That's a yes.
So the United States did not start it. The British Empire started it. Why did the British Empire start Israel? Why?
Why do you say?
So you don't know? Okay, so
I'm saying, why do you say?
The British Empire established Israel just to have on the ground troops that they could use to control the Middle East and also control their pathway to India. That's the whole imperialist governments or empires set up proxy governments all the time. This just happens to be one that they installed because they wanted to create a certain balance of power that was favorable to their financial interests. When after World War II, the British fell off and the United States took over. That's why they're there. It will cost the United States trillions of dollars with troops on the ground to control the Middle East if it were not for Israel. And
the American people that's what I like about the right now is American people don't want that. They don't want that.
But the left has been not wanting it. The right just came around to that.
No, the left constituency doesn't want it, but the left politicians they want something different.
You ever heard of
the left politicians want something different?
You ever heard of hoisting yourself on your look? If the United States pulls out of Israel, it's going to cost more lives and more money, more of the budget. Less of it can be spent on services to help the people in the United States because they're going to have to send troops there and set up more military camps.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't have to do that at all. There's a whole policy shift that the American people are calling for right now. And that is not to be engaged in this anymore. That's why Trump got elected.
They don't have to. They don't have to do that because they can just relinquish that power over there. So they don't have to do that stuff. You're correct. He's saying that if they want to maintain their power, that's the cost-effective way to do it.
But I understand that. But
the matter is that they're okay with U.S. imperialism. They don't even look at the United States as an empire. But when if you don't understand U.S. imperialism, everything else that you're trying to understand will only confuse you. You have to understand the imperialism that's in play and how imperial powers work. Like the whole standard.
You misunderstand. The majority of white people in America, bro. That's not true. They understand the power of who America is.
Do you know what the Ba'athist Party is in the Middle East? The Ba'athist Party.
Just tell me.
Iraqi wasn't it Iraqi?
It's a pan. It's more than it's a pan-Arab political party that's in every country in the Middle East. And their goal is to fight against U.S. imperialism so that the U.S. has no trade relations that are beneficial to the United States and at a disadvantage for those countries. They want the United States out. The United States doesn't want to get out because $2 trillion in exchange of goods occur every year between the United States and the Middle East. They can only do that if they maintain a certain balance of power, and they cannot maintain that without military.
We don't have any disagreement on that point, but here
or directly. They have to have a military.
Here's where we disagree on. You keep associating the American government actions and what they're doing with the will of the people, and being that a MAGA. And what I'm saying is that MAGA white people, they don't want what the government is doing. You know, and that's what I'm saying right there.
Why are they over there? Gas, energy. That's going to affect the economy here. You don't get what I'm saying? Like the standard of living.
And maybe now you understand what I'm saying too, is that America has a shelf life. You know, how this thing has been rolling, how it's been going, has a shelf life. You know, and that's where we're at right now.
How long has Egypt been? How long has Rome been? I understand that these things have collapsed after a fashion, but I mean, you talk about the shelf life,
bro. These are America's not going to last that long. Like those nations like that, they had their time, but this country is not going to be here for eternity. And then this government and this control,
it's going to be here for.
Bro, we have infighting between Democrats and Republicans. It's not just the GOP that's
going to be here for the entirety of your life. And
okay, let's
my life, you know, is finite, you know, and I have less years in front of me probably than I have behind me, you know what I mean? So that's not a good, you know, example to use by, but I pray that it is. I pray that it is. I hope it's not underneath the same construct, but as the brother has mentioned, that it can't go on like it's going on without continuing into
here. What I'm saying is that not you, this anti-Zionist faction. And I'm an anti-Zionist, as you know, but this anti-Zionist faction within MAGA, they're shooting themselves in the foot, is what I'm saying. They're not realizing that your standard of living, your wealth, the resources in the United States that we have are very much tied to exploitation.
But I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. And that's my point. That's why I don't get mad.
They're not really, I'm saying, but they're not really going to be against that. Because that standard of living, that privilege that they're used to having as white people, that's going to go away if they pull out of Israel. That's what I'm saying. So their anti-Semitism is fueling their anti-Zionism, and
I disagree.
Like the nose.
No, I disagree. I think right now, just a lot of white people in general, and I think just Americans in general, just see that the will of the people has not been being executed by the government for a very, very, very long time, and now we're just standing. We're in. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
But say you disagree? You know,
I agree with that somewhat, but
and but I'm saying now we're at a time to where we have across the board, whether you left, right, up, down, we have almost 100% dissatisfaction on this issue. You know, and when you have that much dissatisfaction, change is definitely likely. So the question is, in what direction is this thing going to go? You know what I mean? You know, and there's a lot of different directions it could go, because if the people, you know, get so upset that they begin to unify and begin to want to hold government more accountable, and then they start going beyond party lines and ideology and whatnot, and put the eyes on the prize and say that, look, you know, ultimately we're being failed by government, you know, then who knows what the response by government and those authorities would be? You know, do we go now to?
I want to implore everyone there and Focus Up Cyber World to join an organization, because what Student Action is describing is not going to happen on its own if Black people don't join organizations and push for those things to happen and put pressure on, you know, certain groups. I think if things are going further to the right, we want to slow down that process. That's why strategically I support the Dems. They're to the right too, but they're going at a slow pace.
Okay, so I think we've exhausted this topic. Do you agree with that, Student X?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good discussion.
So I'm glad that everybody felt that they got everything that they needed to say out of it, that it was a good discussion. And I'm just looking at the balance of it. You guys want to cram in this credible lies of AI thing, or do you just want to call it? We can call it.
Yeah, I only had a little comment on it when I saw it, but we can come back to it if you want to go to a more another.
Yeah, let's come back to it. It'll stand up. So that having been said, thank you for watching and participating. Like, subscribe, share. You got what's that type of look on you, Mr. Afro Agnostics?
No, I didn't know. I thought we were. I didn't know we were at the end. My bad.
Well, yeah, that was my point. Yeah, we're an hour and 30 minutes in.
Yeah, bro. We went OT, bro.
Yeah.
That's what threw me off. That's what threw me off. I saw that 30 minutes, and I was Yeah.
So and Student X has got family things to do. Salute to you, brother. So
are y'all doing deconstruct still?
Oh, we're not gonna do an objection.
No,
we got to figure that out. We'll do the thing that you guys like, but we need to formalize it. So that was the whole thing about it. And we want to make sure that you can participate in it. So we know that you got family stuff to do. So do your family stuff, brother.
Yeah, but it's between family and I got a lot of business stuff because I've been having to put off, a business focus just to make sure I come prepared for the show and have a good, dialogue with the brothers and everything, So
that is the sacrifice that the participants on this show do for the people, and we appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe. Go to the Focus Up channel. If you ain't seen it before, it's new to you. So that having been said, peace out.